Bettina, Greg, thank you very much for inviting me here to Borealis. We already had an exciting tour at a chemical plant. It was one of the first ones I visited. I mean, it was at Vianode, it was similar, but this was an even larger scale. To talk about polymers now, right? This was what we were seeing. And you also brought some visuals. We'll have a look at this in a second. But before we jump to this discussion on polyolefins for batteries, I would like to understand, how did you enter the field of batteries?
Well, Borealis has a long history working in the mobility automotive sector, as well as in energy for wire and cable. And then there was this big trend coming about with electrification, right, Bettina?
So electrification is all about producing renewable energy by clean sources, transmission this energy to the place you want to have it, and then use it when you want to have it. So the storage is very important. And then to use it in smart buildings, vehicles, industry, or any other applications. So that's when we said, okay, let's focus on it, where polyolefins can play a significant role and add value. And there, the program was born within new business development called electrification. And here we are focusing on it adjacent to our core industries and activities.
So let's shine a little bit light on the key innovations that Borealis provides to the battery and e-mobility field, because batteries is the topic of today, but this, what I saw also at the tour, goes way beyond it, what you can offer. So maybe we just go through it quickly and then take out two examples that you also brought with us to explain a little bit more in depth of what you do.
Okay.
Yeah. You'd like to start?
Well, what we talked about today was these lithium-ion battery pouch cells that we've been producing. And so we've got some samples here, at least that kind of takes us through the process, what we saw. We saw those pellets, the production there, this compounding step. These are then converted into polymer films, like so. This is then turned into a laminate material, like this. And you take two of these, you press them together, and you seal them, and then you end up getting then a pouch cell. You have a sample there behind you. So it gives you one idea, one innovation that we've been working on at Borealis is this pouch cell.
It's actually the first time when we go really into the cell, on the cell level. So it's about protecting the inside of the cell, and it's also in contact with the chemistry of it. So this is really going down to the heart of the battery, and it's the very first time for us. So we're very proud to present it.
Yeah, because what I think has to be known about this, the polypropylene layer is the layer which is also, it needs to be chemically resistant and to provide the sealing to get have the electrolyte inside the cell and not dripping out of the cell.
Exactly. It fulfills the safety, having excellent sealing performance over the whole lifetime of a battery. So we are not talking about packaging for food. It's really for a battery for over 10, 15 years.
And if you imagine this, I mean, this is just one pouch cell, right? And so if you're putting this into a battery pack, you would slot in 12, 20 of these in one battery module. And this was another area where Borealis was working on, was how to keep that all protected.
And this was actually the first product we were entering in the battery field, is the green pack.
Okay.
So
that's the second battery innovation that you put forward, right?
Yeah, so it's a battery housing. It's actually the first full recyclable 48-volt battery. So it's a swappable battery, but this was the starting point of it. And the innovation is here towards the first generation of it, that our materials offer more than 10% less kilogram per kilowatt hour. And as our flame retardant system was built to be not degrading during processing, it allows recyclability. And here you see the cell holder for cylindrical cells.
Interesting. Can I have a look?
Sure.
So everything that you do revolve around polyolefins, right? And now you gave an overview of what this is basically about, like even inside the module you are present. But the people who are listening in probably ask themselves, like, what are polyolefins? So can we take a step back and just in layman terms shine a little bit light on the different, like what polyolefins are, but then also the different innovation stages and processing steps that are needed to come up with a performative product like that?
So if we take a step back, Borealis, we're focused on polyolefin solutions. So the first starting point is that we have production of polypropylene and polyethylene. And we got to see this a bit earlier today. What that comes out, that's a powder. And that's very basics, the first starting point. This is then can go through what's called a compounding process. And this is then mixed together with different types of materials, additives, stabilizers, colors, flame retardants, for example, glass fibers. That's then a compounded pellet. And then the next step, at least when you're processing, because that's what Borealis sells, are the pellets.
Yes.
The next step here is then to convert this into something.
So, gotcha. So we start off with the raw material, kind of, then refine it or tailor to the needs through the compounding, where you add different additives, and such as colors, right? I assume that there's black color added here.
Or
And,
a green
or
one,
a green
like
one,
here.
of course. And then you sell those granules, those granulates, to your customers, in this case, who make a battery pack or whatever out of this, correct? Or a pouch style laminate.
Correct. And they can either do that via, in this case here, we're talking about injection molding to make those type of battery packs. But equally for the pouch cells, that's film extrusion process. And that's what we also saw earlier today, this cast film extrusion process.
Yes, this was also quite big pilot line, you have to say here.
Yes.
I mean, this was not on full scale, right?
Correct.
Everything that we saw in your innovation center today that we saw was on the pilot level, and it was already on an impressive scale, and I think you can do something with it already.
Right.
So what we saw today was on the pilot scale, right? This in the innovation center. So you validate the processes in order to bring this to the mass market later on,
Right.
together with your partners and customers. So maybe you can explain a little bit across the value chain of the battery industry where you're located.
So we're really at the front end. So we basically produce the polymers that they need to convert into different steps. So if you go back to the samples we were showing before, we just make the pellets. We have semi-commercial or pilot scale facilities here to turn this into a film, which we can then test, and then we can show our customers, hey, this may fit for this application. We work with value chain partners. They will then take our pellets, turn it into a film. They will then laminate it with aluminum. That's the next step.
Yes.
And then this is turned into a pouch cell, which is the next step. And then this is then assembled into different battery packs. So it's we're very much at the front part of the value chain, which makes these kind of innovations quite challenging for us and makes partnerships so important.
Yeah. So regarding the value chain, I know this battery expedition was started because I saw the need to connect more locally on the European continent, because we have a lot of competence out there and here. But I saw a need, and I see a need, that we connect more and more on an operative level. So I would like to understand from your perspective, because you're in a very different field that I'm acting in, how do you see collaboration in Europe in this regard? So this local ecosystem.
I think there are great initiatives, and one of them is the IPSI, European Battery Initiative, and we are also a member of it, because I think this allows us to connect to the battery space and to all players. So there are machinery producers, there are cell producers, but also raw material producers.
Yes.
And I think this is really helping to connect to each other and to have the same goal. We want to build a robust local battery value chain in Europe. And yes, we reached out to many partners and to find also the right collaboration partners. Like PEM Motion really helped us to get started here, to build knowledge. As Greg was pointing out, we are a resin supplier, but we need to understand the whole steps that we know, and that we can develop a tailor-made product fitting for the end-use application.
Yeah, like Greg also mentioned the testing that you do. I mean, all the testing you do is specifically done because the requirements from the chemical part, but also from the mechanical and the electrical requirements, they all play together and put stress on the material in various regards. And so this is why I understand that you need to understand the product really along the whole application, and maybe even beyond that. I don't know how you think about in terms of sustainability and recycling, because at some point this material also needs to be separated again and potentially recycled. So sustainability, I think, is a point that is really important for Europe, and that is probably also at the moment if not the only, but one of the unique things that Europe is really focusing on, even though we are a little bit behind in the battery production industry at the moment. So do you see Borealis at a specific point with specific competence that can add to this?
I think you fully nailed it down. So sustainability is a differentiator for Europe. And in Borealis, we believe on circularity. That's why we also have recycling companies within our family. And to learn what is needed at the end, that you can recycle products. That's why we have them. And to really develop products being capable to be recycled and reused. Not only that, it's about also the raw materials, the feedstock, as we call it. What is put into the polymerization plant can be also sustainable, using bio feedstock, using carbon capture materials to lower the CO2 footprint.
What does carbon capture materials mean in this case?
If you have the air, you have CO2 inside, you capture the CO2, transform the molecules to a raw material which can be polymerized. And you have, again, a raw material which can be a pellet.
And which can become a polypropylene film
and can
for
be
a pouch cell again.
Part of the battery itself,
Okay, gotcha.
You know what the challenging thing about this is that if you look at this film, people are quite used to film, plastic films, polyolefin films, and use it in packaging all the time.
Sure.
Seems quite simple. But in this case here, this is such a complicated application area. I mean, this film needs to be durable, needs to be efficient, and needs to stay safe because it's keeping in nasty chemicals in for the battery itself, and needs to stay sealed for a very long time because we've seen those stories as well when these batteries will catch on fire or you have a leakage there. This could lead to a big safety problem there. And so this is what makes these kind of innovations so challenging for us, and we're only the resin providers. So what we can add as value here is, custom tailoring the resin, the polymer that we're making, and then also introducing all of these renewable feedstocks that we can get in. So Borenewables, we call them at Borealis, or that these materials are fully designed for recycling.
Okay, interesting. And very appealing because this will eventually, I think we have to be a little bit patient, but eventually the circularity thought is really emerging in Europe. And I also talked to many other suppliers, also material companies, that are all looking at how can we close the loop, right? Yesterday I talked to, for example, BMW. They're also really stressing this and also saying that this is becoming not just a thing of virtue, but this is becoming a business case. And so I understand what you just explained me, and what I also saw today, that you are thinking in the same direction, right? To closing this loop for Europe. Okay. So I have 3 questions for you that I ask every guest of this campaign, right? I don't know, they are challenging questions. And the first question is on the challenges for Europe. So from your professional perspective, right, to build this European battery ecosystem, what is holding Europe back at the moment? So what do we need to do really to bridge those big innovation barriers that are in front of us?
I think it's transparency and speed. That's the 2 elements for me. Transparency, meaning standardization sounds like bureaucracy, but actually standardization would help us to know what we aim for. Not knowing where you're aiming for keeps you behind or takes a long time to develop something. So this is really fitting together. So we need to have clear validation criteria, knowing what is expected from products, from suppliers in Europe. And this is the 2 key elements, transparency and acceleration. Okay.
Greg, how about you?
I fully agree with Bettina here on the acceleration front. We need to get faster. I mean, we see right now China's really leading the charge here. We're seeing a lot of electric vehicles coming in as being imported in, and I'm a bit concerned about Europe has a lot to do to get back into the game here and step it up. So that really important here is to accelerate our efforts, put more funding, more resources into this, and that we work together with our value chain partners. So it's not just thinking about this in terms of, hey, my little slice here of what I can contribute to a battery, but you should be thinking holistically. Where do you get the base resin? How do you get film production? How do you then turn that into laminate and then cell production?
Okay, I understand. So you were mentioning the how, right? And I think this segues over to the potential that we could leverage. I mean, Europe is a quite unique continent with unique competences. I mean, we're very strong in research. We are also strong in the industrial sector.
Indeed.
But at the moment, we are missing this this yeah this transition from the lab to industry, overcoming this valley of death, how the commission calls it. So if we look positively at that and look at the competences, the potential that is out there, what points would you give?
Well, electrification is happening, and it can be a really great opportunity and chance for Europe to differentiate.
Okay.
So, and batteries are the backbone of electrification. So it's really key that we catch up and maybe even, come with some new stuff here.
I think we're also really leading the charge here on the sustainability journey. And this is a really important angle. So if we start thinking about closing the loop, renewable sources of feedstock here, recycling, that's an area where we can really differentiate ourselves.
Okay. So what would then be as a final question, your call to action? If you would have one advice that you would give to all stakeholders out there, may it be industry, politics, but also investors potentially, what would you give?
Mine is embrace open collaboration. The more open we are, the more transparent we are, the easier it gets. No single company can solve all of it. So we need to see it holistically. Respecting also the knowledge we put in, meaning on intellectual property. But I think it needs to go hand in hand.
Okay. Greg, how about you?
I support this opinion as well. I mean, it's really important to get this locked in with the whole value chain, and we should be supporting as well local supply, local production, local capabilities here in Europe. We're thinking about here, okay, electrification, new batteries that will be powering our own vehicles. We should be looking at this from a European perspective. What do we need to get that, enable that, and not just rely on other suppliers outside of the continent?
Yeah. So I understand your answer to this by delivering high-performing polyolefins. And my answer to that would be to connect and to collaborate, to share the knowledge, what we can do to spread the message that we have a lot of competence. That's what the Battery Expedition is for. And with that, I thank you and Borealis for being partner on this journey. And let's collaborate.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah.